Welcome back to the art room. I'm really glad you could make it today. So, as artists, we can use color to our advantage to create some dramatic effects in our artwork. In today's episode, we'll be drawing a beautiful still life, and we'll learn the difference between background and foreground, along with the use of light source in our drawings. So let's get back to the art room and get out our colors. Okay, welcome back to the art room for our still life drawing project. I used to do this with second and third graders mainly, and they really had a blast with it and they learned a lot. So we're going to have some of our familiar materials, our chalk pastels, of course, black piece of construction paper, 9 by 12, some kind of a dark colored crayon, and a kneaded eraser, very important. Have you got yours yet? I hope you have. So I'm going to start off with a stencil that I'm going to make of a tall, slender flower pot, and I found that if I made a stencil, it worked out really well. I could kind of have a symmetric flower pot really easy without worrying about too much about the drawing part of it. And so there's one, and then let's make a little one that we're going to use in the foreground. And speaking of that, this was a great way to teach foreground and background. And the small flower pot or little jar, we would always say, that's in the foreground because it's farther down on the page and it's a little bit closer to us. So we'll start with a chalk outline, just a real light chalk outline, and then we'll draw kind of a open end on the big flower pot. And now let's take our little pot and we'll do the same. Trace around that way and draw the open part there. I'm going to smudge it with my finger a little bit to make it a little bit easier to erase. And hey, there we go. Voila, we have a nice little drawing ready to add our chalk to. So as I clean this up, and the next thing I would have the kids do is pick out 3 colors that they really liked. And I always use different ones, but today I think I'm going to use magenta and kind of a turquoise and an orange. And we'll start talking about the light source. Which direction is the light coming from? So on the left-hand side of the surface of this big pot, I'm going to introduce some magenta. And I'm going to rub that around with my fingertip, get a nice even blend there. Whoops, if I can. And on all these chalk projects, I'm always cleaning things up as I go with my kneaded eraser. Let's do the same thing on this pot, and it's important that they understand that it's the left side of the flower pots that we're lighting up and nothing else. That's our light source coming from the left, and we want to show that. Interesting though, if it was coming from the left, wouldn't it catch that open area on the top of each of our flower pots? And that makes such a difference. In fact, when we did this in the room, sometimes you could hear little gasps of like, wow, look at that. Produce our second color. Mine is this beautiful turquoise, and I'm going to rub that around on the right side now. The right side is catching the light. Okay, do the same thing on the right side of your small flower pot, and we'll rub that around really well too. It's great. I just love how that makes everything look just so magical, that second color. So we'll clean up a bit here now. We'll come into the tops of our flower pots with our turquoise now that we're cleaned up, and I'm going to just put that up there. Since all of our surfaces that are pointing to the right are going to get that, that would be the same idea, that we would put that light coming in from the right and also coming in from the right on our little flower pot. Just amazing. Just amazing. Love that. And we'll clean that up too. Okay, looking good. So for my background color, I'm going to use orange, but what I want to do is kind of give an idea that there is some kind of maybe some cloth some kind of fabric here that like a tablecloth maybe, and we're showing this kind of a wrinkly texture, something that we can kind of rub around and make it look a little bit like fabric. And that's all I'm doing here, is rubbing it around with my fingertip again and giving it a kind of a fabric look. Oh, that's getting nice. Okay, and a little bit over here in the corner. And stay kind of loose with it, because I'm going to go back and do a lot of different things, changes here. I'm going to add some highlights to it, and then I think after I'm done here, I'm going to grab my kneaded eraser again and kind of erase through a few little dark areas like wrinkles and such, and kind of bring out some interesting shapes as I go along. They're all going to be different. All your students will have like some little differences in there, and that's good. And of course they could have used a different color for their tablecloth, or different colors for any of the colors that we picked first. Oh yeah, so I'm not sure if I'm happy with it. I'm still gonna, let's clean that up a little and refine some of the shapes. Okay, it's starting to look a little more interesting. All working with my kneaded rubber eraser. So good on chalk pastels, and so good for so many things. And we've been using them for years now in the art room, haven't we? So here's where my crayon comes in, and I'm going to take this is actually a purple crayon, and I'm going to go around those hard edge areas that I want to show, and define my two flower pots that way, and clean up. And wow, that went so fast. And I'll just do kind of a little general cleanup around the way. Oh, that's great. I hope you learned something. It looks a lot like our first one, I think. So there you go. Just remember, no matter where you go, no matter what you do, you got something to be proud of. You're an artist. Stick with it. We'll see you back here next time in Mr. Shay's Art Room.